Welcome, one, and welcome to you all to the greatest show of them all, back by popular demand and by own volition, at least in a YouTube capacity. It is the NFC East Mixtape Volume 168. No, we're not on a podcast platform yet. Yes, we're still pissed off about it. Unfortunately, we still have to say this each and every single time, but we do that because we love you. You can watch it every single week live on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel and the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, where you will see the dashing, debonair faces of myself, RJ Ochoa from Blog on the Boys, and his self, Brandon Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. BLG, happy September 16th to you.
I think one thing that's important to address at the top of the show, RJ, especially for new listeners, is that you and I actually coined the phrases NFC Beast and NFC Least. We invented those. So crazy how much usage those get elsewhere. And just for those who didn't know, it originated here on this podcast.
I forgot what we were talking about last week that you brought this up. It was something annoying to me, and I was complaining to you. But yeah, we coined this. NFC Beast is a trademark of the NFC East Mixtape, not the NFC Mixtape, which many people often refer to this show as. There might be an NFC Mixtape out there somewhere. If there is, I suppose we float in the same universe. I know, and you know, that there is an NFC West mixtape because Rob Stats Guerrera, our good friend who we wish success for, ripped it off. We also know that at one point in time, there was an AFC West mixtape that, like this show was for a little bit, is now defunct. So basically, the NFC's mixtape rules all.
I think Stats kind of cleared it with us, though, right? Like he was like, yeah, hey, do you guys mind if I do this? And I was like, Stats, you don't need to ask, but absolutely, go for it.
I also should say, somewhat out of bitterness, but also out of pride, the graphic material that Stats made for his mixtape that he's putting together was elite. Now, Lindsay Hewley, who we love at SB Nation, set up our graphics. We've just used them from the dawn of the mixtape. So zero shade to her. Lindsay is fantastic.
I don't know. That kind of does sound like shade to her.
I didn't. No. Lindsay, I'm not saying I'm like a graphics expert, but Lindsay graciously taught me everything I know about the graphic world, which is not much, but she's incredible. But Stats put together some incredible graphic material for the NFC West mixtape. I brought this up because when Pete and Steven originated, although that word feels lame, the AFC West mixtape. You should
explain those names to people who might not know them.
So they used to work with us here at SB Nation, used to work at Arrowhead Pride, our Chiefs website, and we're great coworkers. We love them. We wish them success and root for them always, and certainly encourage everyone to check out. Is it Let It Fly, or the Foolish Club Media is Steven Serta's. Let It Fly is the other Kansas City operation. Foolish Club Media, which is what Steven Serta has going on, and the Kansas City Star, which is where Pete Sweeney works now. I'll blame this on Pete because he was kind of the leader of the brigade. He wanted to copy the NFC West mixtape and literally copied the graphic. I mean, like literally just, it was the exact same thing, just changed the site logos like you see our NFC East blogs here at SB Nation. So at least Stats put in the work. I mean, Pete literally just like, copy pasted. And that's why, NFC East is better.
And that's why the Chiefs are 0-2 to start the season.
I don't know if that's why you wanted me to bring them up, but if it was, well done. If you are new around here, Brandon is calling all of you listeners because he's used to podcast form. He needs to get into the habit of saying viewers because we literally exist only on YouTube. That being said, we talk about the NFC East specifically and anything tangentially related to it. And we go in order of divisional standing. So as it has been for a while, we'll start with the Philadelphia Eagles, who did get a win on the road at Arrowhead. No pride there this week. The Tush push has reached a different level of debate and controversy than if you'd like, I can go first because I have long defended the Tush push, but if you want to go first, the floor is yours.
Well, you also said this offseason, like it was time to make a final determination on the Tush push. Either keep it or ban it, but whatever you do, it's final. No more litigating it after this point. So you did say that. Also, I just wanted to point out the Phillies are NL East champions. So
yeah, good. I actually thought about earlier this week that you and I need to come up with a name for this phenomenon. There's something to when your team beats another. My Astros beat the Phillies in the World Series. That makes you kind of root for them in the future. Like, I kind of feel that way about the Bills. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with the Bills because the Cowboys beat them in 2 Super Bowls. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that you'll ever root for the Patriots or Chiefs. But I think that phenomenon does exist on some level. So that's more of my own brain type of thing. I agree. And look, my stance on the tush push has always been, if you're trying to ban it because the Eagles are very good at it, then you're a loser, and you're just ultimate loser for that. Now, that is a very different discussion than what we're seeing. We're seeing some movement, some false starts, some illegality, I would offer, from the Eagle side. And then I would offer from opposing team sides as a result of it all. So we are definitely in some weeds with this as a result of it. I think that is at least objectively true. You can argue that opposing teams are lining up in the neutral zone because they're trying to stop it. And then you can get cyclical about this and say, well, they're doing this because the Eagles guards are moving before the ball is snapped and blah, blah, blah. So if it's policed properly, I really don't care. But I do think that it is not being policed properly, which is a fair thing for people to bring up.
Well, yeah, that's going to be the excuse for when the NFL pushes to ban it this offseason, which is funny because it's really just an admission that your officials aren't good enough. It's like, oh, it's too hard to officiate. Yeah. Well, like, get better at it. Like, how hard is it? Like, it's really not that hard, actually. They do need to do a better job of enforcing it if the Eagles are false starting. Obviously, the biggest offenders of the tush push can't say that, like, they shouldn't call it. Obviously, they should call it. But at the same time, they should also call it if teams are going to line up very much offside, which they have been doing, which the Chiefs did early in the game and actually got flagged for it. So it's really not that hard to officiate, I would argue. It's just that you have to do it.
I would say that, by the way, there was this really close 4th down that I think the Bucs had on Monday Night Football during the first Monday night game. And it was super close. And I thought, like, oh, we're going to get one of these like virtual measurements that they're making a big deal out of. And it didn't happen. And so, okay. So we live in a world where you can apply the virtual measurement system. We also live in a world where every player has, I'm sure there's a more elaborate term for this, but chips or trackers in their jerseys. They have multiple chips and trackers in their jerseys. So why can you not, like the Premier League does, not even just the Premier League, but any level of international soccer, why can't, when they're determining whether somebody's offsides, I'm talking about, you see like the like graphical plane or whatever that shows you like this dude was 1 inch like in the airspace of what is determined to be offside. Why can't that happen? Why can't you virtually measure through data and computer generation, and beyond any like shadow of a doubt, be like, oh, turns out whoever, like pick your guard, was lined up offsides, or a chief was lined up offsides, or whoever. Like, why can't you determine the virtual plane that cannot be crossed by either team, and then actually like line it up in real time and be like, this player's actually jumping and moving and it's a false start, whatever. Like, that is a very like easy fix. I recognize the technology is not easy, but that's the development that should happen as a result of all this.
I just still can't believe we're talking about it. I mean, it's been multiple seasons. I don't think there's anything new or interesting to really say. I mean, you brought up the false start thing, but like, I really don't think there's much here. I think it's going to get banned in the offseason. And honestly, good for the standpoint of like just memorializing a play that the Eagles ran so much better than everyone else, that it got everyone bent out of shape, that they had to ban it. Like, that's an honor. That's an achievement that you made, and to be able to have it so effectively. So I obviously don't want it banned in a perfect world, but I just think it's going to get to that point, and everyone has the whiniest, lamest excuses and reasons to talk about it. Dean Blandino, I'm tired of talking about that. Like, you sound like such a baby. Like, you're a grown man, and you're like, oh, it's too hard. Like this is the NFL. Which is like prides itself on like machismo and toughness and like all these little weak arguments. You have Chris Jones, future like Hall of Fame kind of player, late in the game, talking about how Jalen Hurts didn't even have 100 yards, which wasn't true. Like, it turns everyone into this giant coward baby losers who can't handle it. So I guess for everyone's collective sanity, it would just be better if it's gone, so everyone can move on with their lives.
I legitimately don't feel like I have that sort of viewpoint on this. Again, I've long defended it, because if you're gonna ban it just because they're really good at it, then I completely disagree with that.
That's the crux of it. That's why everyone is upset. At the end of the day, that is the number one reason. There might be other reasons you can hide behind, but that is absolutely the driving force behind
I'm defining my stance. Like, I agree with you that like the Packers feel this way or whatever, but my specific stance is that originally this was just a play that Philadelphia ran better than everyone else.
Hey, buddy.
And is
background.
that Risk It All Paul?
That is Risk It All Paul. Hey, Mr. Buddy. He's wearing a cone because he's not supposed to lick his toes that he likes to lick.
Then we might have to put Who Let the Dogs Out on the playlist this week because he made an appearance. But that being said, shout out to the Baja Man.
My friend's daughter was listening to that recently, like when we were all in the car together, and she requested that. I'm like, this is awesome. Like this is like translating to the youth. I was like, wow, how timeless.
I've seen some TikToks where like kindergartners really enjoy it. Like it's a great song. It's a great song in general, but also great for little kids to kind of like jam out and sing to.
I didn't like anticipate it to translate to that. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's more of our generation. I didn't think they would love it.
If the Backstreet Boys can sell out the Sphere every night, then the Baja Men can at least exist in a world where toddlers dance to their music.
Can you name another Baja Men song?
No, can you?
Same.
Okay. So anyway, my thought process on this is that it began as a play, like pick whenever you want that to be, like in 2022 or whatever. It began as a play that Philadelphia just executed perfectly. And the ramifications of it are that defenses, just because it was so unstoppable, decided to do this and decided to line up here. And then as a result of that, Eagles guards started to move before the ball was snapped. And like, so we have just like so many dominoes have fallen here that partly to the collective point, maybe it should go. I hate that, but maybe it should go away from the standpoint of like, it's created this web of complication. But my point today is that if you're moving before the ball is snapped, that is illegal. I recognize that there's a lot to the argument, but I understand being frustrated and feeling like it is an unguardable play in that particular sense. You cannot beat it if they're moving before the ball is snapped.
Well, there's no disagreement. There's no argument about this. If they're doing that, then call it. That's it.
Yeah, then that's how, to your point, like that's how you fix this. Like if you call them for a false start right there, then boom, like that doesn't happen again. And then if you stop the tush push effectively because of that, like great. But
that doesn't mean you need to ban it. I'm not saying you're saying that, but I think people are saying it's like, no, you don't need to ban it. You just need to actually just legislate it correctly.
As it relates to the rest of the game, I saw one of our staffers at Blog on the Voice, Connor Livesey. I haven't verified this myself, but I believe Jalen Hurts is the only starting quarterback in the NFL, like primary starter for their team, who hasn't thrown a touchdown pass.
Correct.
Eagles offense feels a little, little slow right now. They're 2-0, and so I think ultimately it's who cares, whatever type of proposition.
It's not a who cares in Philadelphia. I'll tell you that. People are very understandably, frustrated. It's because you have so much talent on this offense, and it's like, why can't they get it going? They're barely throwing the ball downfield at all when you have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown.
Devontae had the incredible third down conversion at the end of the game, though.
He did, and it was eerily similar to the one he had against the Chiefs back in 2023 when the Eagles beat Patrick Mahomes there as well, by the way.
The Nick Sirianni game.
3-0 in his last meetings against Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Hurts is now the refuse to lose quarterback that Pete Sweeney once said Patrick Mahomes was. I mean, he beats Patrick Mahomes. He outplayed Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl that he lost to him. My whole thing on this is that it's not satisfying, but it's week 2. And there were a lot of things we would have said about the Eagles last year early on. And shout out to my good friend Tommy Lawler, who's an Eagles writer. He does his own site called Eagles Blitz. He pointed out, who was the top offense in the NFL after 2 weeks last year? Do you remember who this was, RJ?
The Saints. And I know that everyone's bringing that up with the Colts. Yeah,
I actually forgot they played the Cowboys. Yeah, they were electric. Like, we don't know. We don't have the full picture yet. There are valid concerns. You can't just say, like, oh, it doesn't matter at all, and there's nothing troubling. It'll all work out, definitely. I'm not there with it. I'm just saying, like, I'm not ready to make, like, sweeping conclusions that a lot of people seem to be. You're like, fire Kevin Patullo, the Eagles offensive coordinator. I'm like, well, he might not be good, but like, I don't know. I want to see a little bit more. Also, still a lot of good things. You won the game. The defense played well. And regardless, even if you didn't play well, which that certainly wasn't their A game in Kansas City, to go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs, to become the first team to ever beat Mahomes 3 times in a row. By the way, you contributed to 2 of those losses for the Chiefs, like unprecedented. To drop the Chiefs to 0-2 to start the season in their own building. No precedent for that. Mahomes was 19-4 coming off of a loss in his career. That team had extra motivation, obviously, from having been embarrassed in the Super Bowl so badly. I don't care how you get it done. Like, that's a really quality win in a tough spot. And it buys you time. It buys you time to figure out some of these issues. You're 2-0. You're at the top of the division. And for as much as it isn't a perfect start, it could be so much worse.
I think that's true. I think it's a moral loss game. I shouted you out in my post game show because it kind of felt that way for the Cowboys. We'll get to them in a little bit.
I was going to say that's a moral loss.
But it's in the moral loss neighborhood. It's not like the house at the center of the cul-de-sac, but it's like,
I wouldn't say it's a moral loss for the Eagles. Like, they covered the spread.
Well, that's true, but there's and to cover the spread on I know we're like past that, like we're all the like super awesome cute Mahomes things that lasted longer than I think we all thought they would are starting to fade a little bit. Like never lost 3 games in a row
as a home underdog.
Yeah, so
but I think there's something to that though. I think there's something. This isn't a Chiefs podcast. I don't think the Chiefs are used to being in that role, and I don't think they're totally comfortable in that role.
Yeah, they do kind of punch from above and have done so for a long time, which is impressive, but it does end at some point. And I know we've like said, and this is not a Chiefs podcast, but like I know we've said this is the end for a long time. It does kind of feel like at least like there's a serious difference in they I don't know who I saw say this, but it was like some national person. Like the air of invincibility does feel gone. To a large degree.
I think they're gonna have a season like and I've seen this said elsewhere. They're gonna have last season they overperformed their record. They weren't as good as what a 15-2 team is. I think this season they're probably gonna be a little bit better than their record. Like they're on the opposite end of all that regression, and this is a testament to that. This whole season has been they were like what 1-0 billion in 1-score games last year. Now they're 0-2 this year.
As it relates to the Eagles, because we are an NFC East podcast. So Rams at home on Sunday, first noon game for you all year. I hate them. I know you like them, but and then at Tampa Bay, kind of a house of horrors for the Eagles in recent history, as noted. Yeah. And then at home against the Broncos. So 3 interesting, and then you get the Giants sandwich with the Vikings in the middle. Who knows if JJ McCarthy's back for that game? Apparently having a high ankle sprain. So
it's Carson Wentz.
That would be amazing theater.
I think Wentz is going to get benched. I think the Vikings are going to play that UDFA. They seem to be high on Brosmer. They seem to like that guy. He might be good.
Not an NFC North podcast either, but the Eagles are only 3.5 point favorites against the Rams. So
that's down from 4.5. It opened at 4.5, which is that's a big line.
Barely, more than, literally the bare minimum more than the standard home field advantage. Like, I don't know the last time. Their last home game, we talked about it a lot that week. They were 8.5, 7.5, depending on where you looked against the Cowboys. So I do think that there is the air of invincibility is also lessened with the Eagles. Like they're finding a way to keep winning and keep it going, but like they do feel a little bit less like they're just going to destroy you. It's a matter of like it might be really, really, really ugly, but they're going to find a way. So. Yeah, it's a weird.
I think they're rounding into shape, and tough schedule. Rematch of the divisional round this week, right after the rematch of the Super Bowl. The Rams team's 2-0. Matthew Stafford, for all the concern about him in the offseason, seems to be fine. So it's a tough schedule. Kind of like that for them from a standpoint of like your forge is in the fire here. Like let's see how you respond. You're going to get everyone's best shot. Obviously, in a perfect world, you just get easy games. You don't have to sweat it out as much, but. I think these are very much character building kind of wins and performances for a team that has talked a lot about wanting to have to prove themselves all over again. And that's what they're doing so far. Although on that Bucs game too, real quick, that Bucs team looks good to me. They're doing this and they're doing it without Tristan Wirfs, who, is one of the best tackles in the NFL, and Chris Godwin too. Like I think that team's really good. In that Week 4 game, I've marked. I think every Eagles fan has marked that down as an automatic loss when the schedule came out, and nothing has moved me off of that so far.
I also not an NFC South podcast, but I wrote some things about Baker Mayfield for .com over the offseason, and when I dug into the data, and I know like this is kind of fresh in our minds. Right. I dug into the data for like his time in Tampa Bay basically, and I was like, man, this is like way more impressive than it kind of felt in my mind. I really like the Bucs is ultimately what I'm trying to say. And I also, right before the season began, when everybody was like dropping their MVP predictions and things like that, I saw Jamie Erdahl of Good Morning Football. I think it was her that suggested Baker Mayfield. That's a really good pick. Like looking back on it, because he also carries the narrative of like never having done it before, but he has a lot of like national fans and relevance because of his Heisman and being the number 1 overall pick. Like that was a really kind of solid pick. Everyone went chalk with like unfortunately, Joe Burrow won't win it now, but it's just, my point is like, that's aging well. We're only 2 weeks in, but solid pick. Let's move to second place in the division, and that is the Washington Commanders, who are coming off of their first loss of the season, a game in which they looked very not competitive at all. It was a lose-lose proposition. Win-win, though, for Cowboys fans, what with it being a division rival and the Cowboys having the Packers pick, which, by the way, as of today, ironically and poetically, sits at 32nd overall. So just week 2, but it is kind of funny. That being said, the Commanders looked overwhelmed. Jaden Daniels looked overwhelmed. This had nothing to do with them being the oldest team in the NFL.
It absolutely did. Who the 2 players carted off the field?
The Jaden Daniels part of it did not. That's all I'm saying. To finish the like lay of the land, they were never really competitive in this game against the Packers. And it's interesting to look at their game against the Giants in retrospect of what happened between Dallas and New York. Again, we'll get there. But and we came to find out on Monday that Jaden Daniels is set to miss some time. Who knows how long? But former NFC Easter Marcus Mariota is going to start for the Commanders, a man who once quit on his team, allegedly, with the Atlanta Falcons. And they are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders, also 3.5-point favorites. The Commanders are against the Raiders, who are on a short week.
I mean,
that's also team... I'm sorry. I just realized that is super lame that the Commanders get to be home coming off of a Thursday game against a Raiders team who's on a short week. What a horrible draw for Las Vegas.
That is tough for them.
And cross country. It's not even like you're playing the Ravens or something. You know what I mean? Like that is I would be pissed if I was a Raiders fan.
Yeah, maybe they try to negate that a little bit by putting them at a conference, like it's not that'd be tough as it wouldn't make sense if it's a division game being cross country. Anyway, yeah, I mean, first of all, I think the Packers are just really good, so you have to give them credit. That defense, especially with Micah Parsons, makes a big difference. Jordan Love's a little like he can play well at times, but he leaves a little meat on the bone, so to speak. There's some missed opportunities there. And that's kind of crazy to me. I think the Commanders could have been down a lot more if like Jordan Love isn't missing. He missed like multiple touchdown throws. Also, that Packers team was missing both of their two of their starting offensive linemen. Like that shouldn't be a spot where you just get housed from like basically the jump, and you never really were competitive in that game. So I think an alarming performance for the Commanders. They had 2 players 30 plus years old carted off the field, like important players for them too, and Austin Eckler and Dietrich Wise.
And Austin Eckler done for the season, obviously. If that wasn't obvious to anyone, or you haven't seen it at this point, that's a huge bummer, certainly. And you wonder about the future of his career at this point.
Former guest of yours, I believe, or you interviewed him before.
No, I did not. That was Michelle who did.
Former SB Nation NFL show guest. Anyway, unfortunate for them, but I mean, that's part of like the risk. I'm not rooting for injury, but like that's part of the assumed risk when you have so many old players. You're increasing your chances. So I thought that was kind of telling. And Jaden Daniels getting banged up. I mean, we saw that a little bit last year. It didn't like last as a lasting issue. Maybe this will not be an issue as well in the long term. But maybe he misses a game. Maybe his mobility is a little bit more limited than it usually is, and he's obviously still capable of being a fantastic passer if that's the case. But it does limit part of his game. So I think the vibe shifted real quick on that team. Your boy Debo, racking up garbage time production. Great for him. Amazing stuff there. So I felt like that was more of the Commanders team I expected to see. I think my take from week 1 that like I wasn't really as impressed with the Commanders as much as I thought that game was more about the Giants being as dreadful as they possibly can be, although we'll get to them in a bit here. I just don't think this Commanders team, when you look at the top threats in the NFC, like I just don't think the Commanders belong in that conversation.
I mean, I don't know that I ever thought they were a paper tiger last year. That wouldn't be the right way to characterize it, but I think they definitely overshot, their potential. And that's why everyone, I mean, outside of like Commanders fans really, pick them as a candidate for regression to the mean and maybe even further than the mean. Like we've seen that happen a lot. Like sometimes it's like regression to the mean doesn't mean like your floor is the mean. You know what I mean? Like it means that like you're probably just not going to fly as close to the sun as you've been doing so for this entire time. And so, like I do. I think the Commanders fans bought in because how could you not? I mean, you know what I mean? Like they tasted, life for the first time in a generation. So I in no way fault them for getting drunk with power or whatever, or drunk with relevance.
Based on what I saw over at Hogs Haven, that was like a sobering loss for them. That wasn't just like, oh, writing it off as one performance. I'm not saying they're ready to throw in the towel in the season.
No, but I think that
that was a wake up call.
I think that you long whenever you're in a moment like that, you're like you know that like the end is going to come, and so in a weird way you're kind of like looking forward to it. You know what I mean? Because you're like you're you know what I'm saying? Like you're looking forward to like the like balance of the force, so to speak, so that you can figure out what's real. Because I think that's important for Washington. Their schedule coming up, they've got the Raiders on Sunday, and then at Atlanta, who I don't know what I think about them yet. Also not an NFC South podcast, but as we already defined with the Buccaneers. But that is, I mean, I think I would pick Atlanta, especially, in Atlanta.
I would say at the very least, they're not a pushover, it seems.
Right. And then at the Chargers, and again, I don't know that I think they're like super duper mighty, but I think they're definitely going to beat the Commanders. So, and then at home against the Bears, okay, whatever. But do they have 4 road games in a 5-game stretch? At Atlanta, at the Chargers, Bears at home, at the Cowboys, and then at the Chiefs. And who knows what the Cowboys and Chiefs are like by that point. This is mid-October or late October even. So and then the Seahawks at home, and then the Lions at home. I mean, so it is a gauntlet before you get to Miami, and maybe they've already stripped their team away at that point. So I think they might fall below 500, like for a little while here, and maybe not even get back, depending on Jaden and everything around it.
2 last things on the Commanders for me. Number 1, that offensive line is a concern, specifically Josh Connerly. He's a rookie, so he could get better. And in fairness, he's had to go up against Abdul Carter and Micah Parsons in his first 2 games. That's a really tough matchup from a rookie. Still, I think the offensive line has looked leaky. I mean, they allowed 4 sacks and 12 hits on Jaden Daniels in week 2. And if he's banged up, I mean, and he's not able to run as much, I worry about that even more being an issue, really exacerbating the situation there. So that's the one thing. Number 2, I texted you about this during the game, but we really kind of have to move past the fascination with Bill, Jacory, JCM there, because it's just like, okay, we get it. Like you call him it's already bordering on Stiegel's level. Oh, did you know they actually call him a different thing than his real name? Like, and not only to bring it up once, like, okay, sure, whatever. It's kind of confusing if you don't know. And I've been within this podcast bringing up full names to kind of help people who don't know feel involved. I'm not railing against that. But like within the game, they're talking about it like 5 to 10 times more after the first time. Like, okay, like we get it. He's not even that amazing of a player. He's just like a solid player, but it's not like a superstar player.
It reminded me of 2 things. One, after maybe the first Monday night game that the Chiefs played in the Patrick Mahomes era, I don't know if you remember this, they discussed that his nickname was Showtime. And everybody
like Showtime.
Patrick's
I've never heard anyone call him that.
I'm serious. Like look, this happened during Monday Night Football. They were talking about it, and the internet was like, "What?" Like everyone kind of had that reaction. And I vividly recall in the postgame interview, Lisa Salters starting it, and instead of saying, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to Lisa, she's amazing, but instead of being like, "Hey Patrick," she said Showtime. Like she addressed him as Showtime, and so it's just it was so, even if it was real, it was so forced. And so the other thing it reminded me of, and we're about to get to the Cowboys, and I don't know, maybe you watched the Red Zone channel or something, or you were busy getting ready for the Eagles game, but so I don't know if you watched the broadcast. I love Joe Davis and Greg Olsen. They're the best, duo going right now in my mind, but Joe Davis, respect, man, but had to tell the whole world that Brandon Aubrey didn't kick in college. He was a soccer player at Notre Dame, was in the MLS, was a software engineer, and his wife told him, like, we've heard this story for years. At least the Bill thing it's his second NFL game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just annoying when the NFL doesn't have RSNs or something that tell a story and know the audience knows it. So it's annoying how these new crews feel the need to tell stories that have been told a million times already, is my point.
I think the difference too with the Bill thing is like they'll, I guess, kind of call him by his listed name and then be like, "Oh, Bill." So then like they have to like bring up the story again every time of why they're calling him again. It's just, I've already reached my limit.
Or like if he has a big play, they'll be like, "And that's Bill." You know what I mean? They'll just like reinforce it. It's okay, cool. I don't really have anything else on the Commanders except for I'm not super duper worried, but this is like because of what my expectation was for them. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what I thought would happen.
On the nickname thing. It's like when you go to Pro Football Reference and there's these nicknames you see for players that you're like, I've never seen that player
like
referred
Purple
to
Dragon. And you're like, what?
I think like the Pharaoh was one for Tom Brady. It's like who's calling him that? I've never heard one person call him that. The one that's funny to me, or just like nicknames that kind of are out there canonically, but don't actually get used. Like to me, Bryce Harper wears his headband that says Showman on it, or the Showman. Like no one calls him the Showman. Or at least I don't. I don't know anyone who calls him that. So it's also not that great of a nickname to me. So I just think it's funny when you see stuff like that that doesn't actually register with people.
Not great. Okay, let's get to the Cowboys. The score was 17-16 when the fourth quarter began, and they won. Granted, it took every second of regulation and overtime, 40-37. They avoided an 0-2 start. They obviously handed the Giants an 0-2 start. I believe Ed told me that the Giants had started 0-2 6 of the previous 8 seasons. So this would make it 7 of the previous 9 now, or 7, of the like active 9 or whatever. That is insane. We'll get to the Giants in a moment. From a Cowboys perspective, the offense was a little bit asleep early on, and it kind of seemed like they were actually going to throw it away, that they were actually going to finally lose to the Giants. They did not, obviously. Dak now has the second longest individual win streak against a specific division rival. He broke his tie with Tom Brady, who held it against the Bills. Bob Greasy owns the longest against the Bills. So Dak needs a few more years to get that record all to himself. That is like the most little brother energy ever. There's no Giants fan that is. I maintain that Eagles fans don't really have a right to talk about Dak Prescott, but objectively we can debate it. No Giants fan can do that. Like, he is their daddy. You know what I mean? Like, it is insane that it has gone on this long. He was fantastic. George Pickens had a lot of moments where you were like, that's exactly why you trade for George Pickens. Javonte Williams is kind of the super surprise in terms of being a productive runner. He is the second Cowboys player ever to have to have 3 rushing touchdowns through the first 2 games of a season. He has 151 rushing yards, and I realized this morning. It has not been since 2020 that a Cowboys running back has had at least 150 rushing yards, which is not a lot through the first 2 games of a season, which just kind of suggests that they haven't really done well on the ground since 2020, or since unfortunately giving Zeke Elliott the contract extension. Defensively, super duper nightmare. There's no doubt about it. Like, they made Russell Wilson look like peak prime vintage Russell Wilson. The Malik Neighbors moonball was super predictable, and that it actually happened. I say this all the time, like, it's really rare that someone lives up to your worst expectations of them. But that actually happened in this particular instance. And yeah, Brandon Aubrey is amazing. Like, the fact that they were like, oh, we'll just do a 64-yard field goal, like that was the plan, is incredible to me. And they executed it, obviously, and got lucky with the Russell Wilson arm punt after they punted for the second time in overtime. But they capitalized and really kind of changed the vibe on everything heading into week 3.
Dak Prescott, who owns the Eagles, as the Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls and been to 3 since he took over as a starter in the NFC East. Really a big roadblock to their success. I think this game is a moral loss for the Cowboys from a standpoint of they got outgained by the Giants by 79 yards. The Giants went 1-5 in the red zone. Even if like 2 of those go different, they're winning that game. I did have complete confidence in Aubrey. As soon as Russell Wilson threw that touchdown at the end, I texted my Eagles group chat, and I was like, oh, Brandon Aubrey's going to kick a 70-yard field goal here to tie it and send it to overtime. Not quite, only 64, but pretty close. But you're going to say something?
I was just going to say, Greg Olson on the call was destroying the Giants. He was like, they are lined up so far back. And I mean, again, this is why he's the best in the business in my mind. He was like, this is not, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, where like, an offense has got to get to the 35-yard line. He was like, they just have to get to midfield, and you're giving that to them. And what I've said this already, but what I found impressive about that, obviously the execution of the actual kick is impressive, but on the second down, the play right before the 64-yard field goal, the Cowboys ran it, and Joe Davis and Greg Olson were both kind of surprised. They were like, whoa, what are you doing here? And to me, Like we've had some commenters on our site kind of debating this subject, but to me, it was a matter of like, no, that was the plan. Like that is not, it wasn't luck. It was, I mean, obviously the kick, being made was fortunate, but it was literally the plan to kick a 64, maybe not 64, but like that range of a field goal. It wasn't a matter of like, well, we have no time left. Let's just hope this works. So, I mean, the execution involved and the disposition and discipline from Brian Schottenheimer on down was really impressive to me, that they planned that. Granted, they didn't have a lot of time to work, obviously, but that they executed so perfectly.
They ran out of time at the end of the first half. Was that kind of reminded me of the 49ers loss in the playoffs a few years ago.
I maintained that was smart in theory, and that Dak ran like a step too far. But yes, they did run out of time, and they also had a moment of a similar vein on a 4th and short where Dak got up on the line of scrimmage and was like, just barking a bunch of things and trying to draw the Giants off sides, and then snuck it and did convert, but just went a hair too long and got called for a delay of game and they had to punt.
I think Dak's been kind of Jekyll or Hyde here early on, where like he's looked good he's looked pretty good at his best. And I also think he's been getting away with some dropped interceptions at a high rate that evened out a little bit in this game. Finally had one. I was like, he can't just keep getting away with this every single time. I would be interested to see the interceptable throws stat if anyone has that. If
anyone, we already mentioned him in the NFL is getting away with that. It's Baker Mayfield. Like Baker is like really played with some fire so far this season. I would offer that Dak has also had some serious drops go against him, and from like not players down the roster. CeeDee Lamb, like you're talking your most reliable dude, Jake Ferguson, who you just gave a contract extension to, that's hurt him. So those things are, from a karmic perspective, I suppose, balancing out. I do think that Dak is an underrated, kind of like Baker, MVP ticket to throw out, because a lot of it is narrative, never won before. If the Cowboys were to have success in spite of like trading Micah and all this stuff, like the story is theirs, is my point. And he is playing very well. I said this in our postgame show. For a long time, Micah was the best player on the Cowboys. Like it just relative to talent. I think we're at a point now where Dak is. Dak is easily the best player on the team.
CeeDee Lamb, when he has the highest paid contract in the NFL.
That's not his fault. We don't have to relitigate that either. But CeeDee Lamb has, had a slow start to the season. He's still productive from a, yardage standpoint. But this was also like the George Pickens game. I mean, it was, it's week 2, and it's only second game with the franchise. But he drew 2 serious penalties. He obviously drew a critical one against the Eagles in the opener. And he had the big catch that put them in field goal range at the very end in overtime that Dak obviously added to with the run. He had the touchdown that should have been the game winner prior to Matt Eberflus's defense falling apart. So, I mean, this was what you expected. This was what you expected when you traded for him, and that was certainly exciting. Oh, and the Cowboys got Jadeveon Clowney like 5 minutes after they won this game too.
Yeah, I think there's some reasons for optimism in terms of like Cowboys defense not being this bad. You get Deron Bland back at some point. You sign Clowney. We'll see.
Savon Ravel will make his debut at some point.
Exactly. Overshone will be back at some point, I guess, in time. So there's some reason to believe they'll be better than this. In the meantime, though, it is a pretty big concern. And ultimately, like the Cowboys avoided a lot. No matter how they did it, moral loss. Dropping to 0-2 in the division, we had talked about that last week. That especially losing to that Giants team, a team that you've just owned like that, you're just not recovering probably from that. So now you're at least, you have a chance here. Your season isn't dead like it probably would have been at 0-2 effectively. So they ultimately, like the Eagles, did the important thing and won the game.
1.5 point dogs the Cowboys are on the road this week.
That makes no sense to me.
Against the Chicago Bears. So first, I don't know what your point is, but I've had a lot of our audience be like, how offensive. And maybe this is where you're coming from, like against the Cowboys. It is in Chicago, just for what it's worth. Like the fact that
Williams looks awful. He looks
I agree with you. I mean, like, to be clear, I mean, but my point is like there is some, this to be true. There is some respect being paid to Dallas that it's underneath 3 points. It's simply my point. But I agree, like it does feel like free money. Like I don't know why you wouldn't take that. If the Cowboys are 1-1 against the spread, they did cover at Philadelphia. They were 4.5 point favorites in this game. Even got up to 5.5 at one point, but obviously only won by 3.
Bears also lost Jalen Johnson, right? Like, I mean, what?
Looks like for the year, but
Yeah.
definitely for this game.
So I'm not seeing it.
I mean, but no Deron Bland again for Dallas, and Dallas
I
lost
don't
Cooper
care.
Beebe. That has happened since we last spoke. Going to be out somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks, probably, if I had to guess, through the bye. So I mean that is significant, but yeah, like, what is there to like about the Bears right now? Like, I mean, and I low key kind of have always liked the Bears. Some of that is my dog, but I mean, like, man, I'm fighting a sneeze, and it is.
I
Very
think Ben
difficult.
Johnson might figure it out in terms of at least, like, I believe in Ben Johnson as a play caller. I don't know about him as a head coach, so maybe the offense gets going at some point. But I say that, and then Caleb looks awful. He really just does to me. There's just like routine throws he cannot make. And all the stuff too. Terrible vibes quarterback from that story in the offseason. Like, that can't be the guy you're putting your faith in.
What is even like, that's a different kind of terrible vibes, but I know the Ryan Poles, we're gonna take the NFC or the North, like, we're gonna take the North and never give it back quote has resurfaced. That's one of those things that's like, I don't care how cool it sounds when you're in the mirror rehearsing it, it's a bad idea. Like, was it Chris Ballard who said the rivalry was back on with New England? Like, name the line like that sounded cool.
Yeah, I think GMs in general probably just shouldn't be talking trash. That's not like a GM kind of thing, too. Like, you're making roster transactions. You're not going out there on the football field and actually doing it yourself. And also, I said this prior to the week 2 loss for the Bears, but and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's come up with this, but I truly believe Caleb's going to get benched for Tyson Bagent. Like, that's going to happen this season. It's absolutely going to happen.
I mean, I also don't know this to be true, but I heard it on a podcast that Ryan Poles has never drafted a Pro Bowler. Do you know if that's true?
I mean, who would it be?
Right, yeah, I mean, it passes the smell test.
I guess Jalen Johnson. Did he not draft Jalen Johnson? Has Johnson been a Pro Bowler? If not, he could be. He's like that kind of caliber, but that's one player.
But like, they've had the number 1 overall pick twice in in his reign, and he's never drafted a pro. Like, we're not even talking all pro. Like, a pro, like making the Pro Bowl now is not impressive. I mean, it's impressive.
Tyler Huntley made a Pro Bowl.
I mean, so yeah, like, that's. We didn't. I don't know if we went on record. I think I might take the Rams against the Eagles. At least I'll take the points. And I think I'll still take the Commanders because the Raiders look awful. And then I'll take the Cowboys because I'm getting a point and a half.
Yeah.
But what were your picks?
Well, we didn't. Why aren't we doing the Giants one?
Okay, fine. I was laying out the Cowboys line. Okay, so the Giants lost this exact game that we just talked about. I think that this is potentially the worst case scenario for the Giants. Like, if you're a Giants fan, or like what I'm about to say, or a Giants staffer, whether that's in the front office or on the coaching staff, and you are this week going, Russ has still got it. That's the worst. That's the worst possible lie to tell yourself. It was super fun and super cool, but you like do not believe the mirage that burns teams, and that will burn you so hard, so fast. Believe in Cam Scatterboot. That was awesome. He is so awesome. I'm so bummed. It was such a bummer that his like moment came against the Cowboys. Thankfully, the Cowboys won. Jackson Dart slipping and falling, not exactly super encouraging. Whatever. Malik Neighbors though, powering, super exciting. Wan'Dale Robinson, I get it. It's definitely disappointing that Dak is your daddy, but do not take the Russell Wilson cheese. Do not fall for that.
If there was ever a time for a coach to just yell at a player, James Hudson on that one drive against the Cowboys there, just insane. Like, what are you doing? Like, get off the field. Like get your head out of your butt. And like, what are you doing? Like, you're being an idiot. You're just being an absolute idiot. Like, you're not allowed to play. I'm sorry. Like, what a joke. Anyway, but that speaks to a bigger point. The Giants just look so undisciplined, like just really sloppy. They did not look like a well-coached team. But to your point about Russ and getting into that, like, I was hard on him last week, but I don't regret that because I still maintain the point of there's no point of playing him. Like, you're not doing, especially when you lose like that. Like you said, worst case scenario, you didn't even get the at least like supposed benefit of playing him, which is some short term kind of success. I would have liked to see obviously the Giants win, but from the standpoint of this just makes it longer probably until the Giants play Jackson Dart. That's a loss for the big term picture here for that franchise. Like, Dart should be playing still, and the more time they waste on Russell Wilson is just a waste of time.
people throw out all sorts of silly trade ideas, all the time, right? Like that's just like football fandom. Like Joe Burrow goes down, and so you're like, who's the guy? Like, who's the dude who they can, not that you can trade for a superstar or anything, but like I don't know, is it Carson Wentz? Like, who's your guy that's like I was talking to a friend, I was like, they should trade for Andy Dalton. Like, you know what I mean? No offense to Jake Browning, but like that would be better. You know what I mean? And so
I don't know. Jake Browning can play, I think.
Okay, if I were Joe Shane though, like my point is like I would trade Russell so fast to the Bengals or the Vikings, or you know what I mean? Like if you're like, just get out now, get out, because you're not going anywhere, and start the Jackson Dart era. Like, you're just swimming in place right now to do this, and especially if you're like, man, he played really well. I suppose that like maybe you can talk yourself or cope yourself into thinking like, well, he's helping Malik Neighbors grow, helping Wan'Dale Robinson grow, like that helps the long-term future of the franchise. That's great, but the most important thing is Jackson Dart. Like, he is the most important person in the building, and he's and like, you can't expect him to go in and like hand it off to Scadaboo one time and then pull it himself another, and all of us like that be like the growth and development and nourishment he needs. No, like you're just literally wasting time right now.
It would be bad for them if they beat the Chiefs. That would be like a bad development for this Giants team. It'd be better.
The mirage.
If they go 0-3. But that, that wouldn't be the reaction. People would be like, oh, beat the Chiefs. Oh, so fired up.
We beat the Chiefs. We almost beat the Cowboys. You know what I mean? Like, we should be 2-1. Like, so this is their schedule long term, by the way. I was interested in the.
Not an easy schedule. It's a very tough schedule.
What's the hardest in the NFL? So they've got the Chiefs and the Chargers, and then at New Orleans. So, but that's like, again, if we're crafting like worst case scenarios, and we're saying this, I hope this happens, like, right. But we always say this with the Giants, like, this is worst case from a how did the Giants move forward as a franchise standpoint. Worst case would be beat the Chiefs, because like I feel this way about Alabama these days. Like, if you beat Alabama, like, do you really feel proud of yourself? Like do you really feel like you beat Bama? Like you beat Kalen DeBoer's, Crimson Tide. Like, my point is like, it's not the mount that it is on paper. You know what I mean? It's not what it used to be.
I get what you're saying.
So like, my point is like, if they beat the Chiefs, they like the talk next week would be like, we beat the Chiefs, and it's like, well, you did, but this isn't what you think it is. You know what I mean? On paper it is, but it's beating the most hollow version of them that has literally ever existed in the Mahomes era.
Well, it's also like incredibly empty in terms of the standings, because it's an AFC win and you're still 0-2 in the division, which doesn't mean anything.
Forget the narrative. A home win against an AFC team, but it would be in prime time. You know what I mean? And it would be like. So I really worry for them that they're going to win this game, because it will be the easiest bait to take, to lie to yourself. And a lot of them will do it. You know what I mean? And then that will be like future bait for someone to sign Russell Wilson in the offseason, to be like, man, remember when he threw for 450 yards against the Cowboys and beat the Chiefs? Like, that could be us. I mean, like, and the other AJ, by the way, says in the chat, that's how they got stuck with Daniel Jones. The lying to themselves. We've said like the 2022 season was like the worst thing that could have ever happened to them. And I agree with that. And now you look at Daniel Jones, you're like, well, like it invites questions. And so I just don't know, like, you're just spinning in circles at this point. I find it silly.
Yeah, I think they're going to drop to 0-3.
I hope they do, for their sake. I legitimately, this is a tough love time for us with the New York still really bad at football Giants. Okay, do you want to do picks for next week then? Even though I gave away 3 of mine. So I'm taking the Rams because I'm getting the points. At the moment of our conversation, they are 3.5-point dogs. The Rams are in Philly. The Commanders are 3.5-point favorites at home. I'll take them, and it's really just about. Dude, Geno looks awful. I mean, that was
better than Jalen Hurts, Geno Smith, according to many quarterback rankings, like prominent quarterback rankings, like the Ringers quarterback rankings. But you take the Hurts stuff out of it. There is like a Geno hive, and I just think that's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, well, I think it's really dumb.
I also would say that Monday night was particularly bad. He was not. Sure. What he was in week 1, what he was on
the breadth of his career still is incredibly just not inspiring. And people talk about him like he's amazing.
There's a hipster vibe to liking Geno Smith is cool. Like there are legitimate reasons to think highly of him.
I think there's a whole psychology with that kind of stuff. People I think talk about Dak in a positive light because he was a 4th round pick, like relative expectation, as opposed to if Dak was like a 1st round pick or a number 1 overall pick, like people would talk about him a lot more differently.
Well, Geno was a 2nd round pick. I mean, and he was in New York for the draft,
Yeah, but then he fell out of favor so hard and was basically like written off, and no one ever thought he would start again. That the expectations were so low that the bar was so easy to clear. So once he did that again, it's like, oh, he's great, he's awesome. So I think people tend to,
he also had
expectations out of whack.
I think there is something to when you have like a super viral moment that everyone loves. His they wrote me off, but I didn't write back. Like that birthed a lot of love.
It did.
You know what I'm saying? But I will still take the Commanders over the Raiders. That's my point. So your picks on Philly and Washington.
I'll take the Eagles because I think the Rams are good, and I'll take the Rams. You said they're getting 3.5 points. I'll take the points because I think it'll be another kind of like close field goal game there.
So Rams to cover, Eagles to win.
Eagles to win. I mean, Rams could not stop Saquon Barkley last year, and maybe they've figured that out a little bit more. But man, like like 400 and something yards, 4 touchdowns against them last year, plus like 70 plus receiving yards. Like he absolutely owned them, and they had no answer for him. And
like 8 months ago. I mean,
but I'm like, why am I just going to assume now that they've figured that out? Because their run defense hasn't been amazing this year so far.
Your assumption is that the Eagles' offense has been limited at large.
The passing game specifically. I'm not as worried about the running game. I think the passing game will figure some things out here. The Rams are missing Akello Witherspoon now, starting cornerback, so that could help the Eagles get on track a little bit there with the Rams defense. Not quite at 100%. Their front is impressive. Jared Verse is obviously really good. Braden Fisk really good. Kobe Turner. So, maybe that neutralizes things, but I think Saquon could have another big game here, and the Eagles are really good at home. I mean, they're really good in general. Jalen Hurts, he is 16-0 in his last 16 games that he has started and finished. That's crazy.
Why are we picking 16? Insane. Why is 16 the arbitrary number?
I don't know. It's almost a full worth of season. So if they win this week, it'll be 17-0. It'll be a full season.
Why are we
worth
saying
of
16?
Games.
Why are we not?
Okay, whatever. Like, is that not impressive to you? Do you think
it is impressive? But it seems arbitrarily picked.
How is it arbitrary when it's like basically worth one season's worth of games?
Because it's not. Why wouldn't you say 17 then?
Whatever you want to spin this, it's a really good number, and it points to they literally just win when he starts and finishes.
Okay,
they only do that.
Maybe they're 17-0 in their last 17. That's why I'm asking. Like, I don't know that they lost.
I guess they wouldn't be because that's probably against the Bucks last year. It's probably
okay. So then this is being framed to make it, look.
It's a really impressive statistic.
It is super impressive, even if you include the 17th game. My point is, why stop at 16? Or why go to 16? Why not say 10?
Why not 17 games?
Why not say 100? I mean, like, why not? It is literally arbitrary.
Since the start of last season, how about this? He's lost 2 games since he started. That
at least
and finished.
Makes sense. That is at least a legitimate
so
point.
18-2 or whatever. Like,
great.
The point is he's really good. Or
my point is, don't be so insecure. Not that you're the one doing it to be like, we have to find a way to make it perfect. So 16 games is the number.
It's not perfect. It's 18-2. It's still really good.
Okay, well,
you're not changing the point.
My point is it's going to be 18-3 after Sunday. Your point is that it will be 19-2, but you are taking the Rams
17-0 in a perfect season's worth of games.
At that point, that will be a legitimate claim and it won't be arbitrary. That's all right. I'm saying. So we're split there, but we're both taking the Rams with the points to cover. What about the Commanders? I took them, and I'm laying the points.
What's the line again?
3.5.
I'm going to take I can't that's a tough one. I'm going to say the Commanders win because Mariota did look good when he had to play last year, like that Commanders. So I don't think he's totally hopeless there. Seems to be a good fit for him. And like you said, this is a really tough spot for the Raiders, just the situation of short week, traveling. I'm not going to put my faith in Geno and feel good about that. I think it'll be a competitive game for a bit, and then the Commanders score a touchdown late and cover.
So we're both taking the Commanders to win and cover. I mentioned I'm taking the Cowboys to win outright, which would be to cover because they're 1.5 point dogs.
That's That's my lock of the week. Now, in fairness, my lock of the week last week was the Cowboys to cover against the Giants, and they did not cover that 4.5. But I do think this week, I really am not a Caleb Williams believer at all.
The Packers play the Browns this week. I think that we both think they'll win, right? So if the Cowboys win, that would put them at 2-1, and the Packers at 3-0, setting up the Cowboys-Packers Sunday Night Football game next Sunday. And
that's
if you're
Dallas,
it's in Dallas. And if you're forecasting the moment where the Cowboys hype jumps the shark, it would be that. It would be beating Micah's Packers and giving them their first loss. That I don't know what that week would look like afterwards, but it would be wild.
Yeah, that's some nice fan fiction for you. On the opposite side, it'd be pretty impressive of the Packers to have all these like if they beat them like they did the Commanders. Only getting more and more difficult to not project the Packers as the top threat to the Eagles in the NFC, maybe just the top team outright in the NFC.
I think if I had to pick the Super Bowl today, it'd be Packers-Bills or Packers-Ravens. I mean, that would be my second choice.
Yeah, I'm sure the Ravens will get there. Yeah.
Okay. But we're both taking the Cowboys to win and obviously cover.
I would love if the Eagles can't win the Super Bowl, I obviously want the Packers to win the Super Bowl this year because then, you guys get the 32nd pick.
Well, Micah Parsons is your favorite player because you're obsessed with the Cowboys.
He wants to be an Eagle still.
The New York Giants are. What do you think the line is? They're home against the Chiefs. This is you mentioned prime time.
What's it like?
This is the Sunday night game.
Yeah. So like, what are they -4.5?
They're against the Chiefs.
Oh, sorry, plus. I meant plus. Yeah, +4.5.
They are 5.5-point home dogs to the Chiefs.
They could cover that because the Chiefs.
That's where I'm going.
Look amazing, but they're not going to win the game. So I'm going to take the points, and then the Chiefs will win the game.
That's exactly how I feel.
That might be a sucker's bet, though. I don't know, but I just don't know. The Chiefs, I just don't know about that.
When was the last time, not an AFC West podcast, when was the last time the Chiefs looked like untouchable?
I mean, they obviously pretty mortal all throughout last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like they obviously got to the Super Bowl, but like it was every week. It was like how.
Well, they looked immortal when it counted the most. Like
I mean, within moments certainly, and so I'm not trying to be arbitrary like you, but my point is like when was the last time they just like kicked ass? It's been a little while. I mean, so
was it early on last season? I don't remember.
I'm pulling this up really quickly because I am kind of curious here.
I mean, that defense was so good in 2023, right?
Before I dive in, that
defense was legitimately awesome.
Before I dive in, I'm gonna arbitrarily say when was the last time they won a game by 10? How about that? That feels like kicking ass. So that being said, they won in the divisional round by 9. They beat the Steelers on Christmas last year, 29-10. So, and that was week 17. So
yeah, and that was clearly run out of juice at that point.
Yeah, that was the last, But to your point, I mean, everyone's point, they beat this is last season. They beat the Ravens week 1 by 7. They beat the Bengals by 1. That was should there have been a penalty game. They beat Atlanta by 5. They beat the Chargers by 7. They beat the Saints by 13. They beat the Niners by 10, the Raiders by 7, the Bucks by 6, the Broncos by 2 with the blocked field goal at the end. So yeah, I mean, it isn't an exaggeration to say they haven't been the unstoppable Mahomes offense consistently for a while. So that's why it is conceivable that the Giants could cover is the point.
Want to get to songs? Got anything else in your mind?
How many NFL podcasts have a segue where they go, do you want to get to songs?
I don't know.
I don't think
I don't listen to any NFL podcasts. I don't think league wide. I listen to a bunch of Eagles podcasts.
Okay, so I'm gonna go first. I told you I was checking mine. My song is called 38 Planes (reprise / somewhere in the middle of nowhere). It is from one of my favorite musicals that I've ever seen. It's called Come From Away. This is actually a really impressive and important story relative to American history. Last week, after we recorded or streamed, we reached the 24th anniversary of September 11th. This musical is about a place in Connecticut, I believe, called Newfoundland. Maybe you're aware of this as an East Coaster. At that time, all these planes had to be rerouted due to security reasons, as is imaginable and understood. And a lot of planes were rerouted to Newfoundland and the passengers had to stay there for like 2 weeks as matters were sorted and figured out, and as this really happened. And so the city and the citizens of the area embraced all the stranded people and helped out and provided materials and housing and food and whatnot in this incredibly catastrophic time. And so it's really, I mean, the musical is fantastic and a really great story told about the power of the human spirit, power of the American spirit. And I enjoyed it. And it's a musical where people play different characters. And this is the final song. And it's my favorite, obviously, from the show. But I would encourage people to see it. It's a really powerful story.
That's cool. I'm inspired to check that out. Good ad by you. I'm going to go with a friend of the pod and personal friend of mine, Brendan Ekstrom, who's in a band called Circa Survive, which is not going on right now, but has a new side project called Hyperviolets, all one word, Hyperviolets. And I think their first album is coming out on Halloween. Very much looking forward to that. But they have their first single out that is called Shadow Connected. Really cool song. I like it. I would recommend it. Check it out. Brendan's a big Eagles fan, has been listening to BGN Radio and the mixtape I've known him for 10 years now. So loyal listener and pretty great dude. So check out his song. He'd appreciate it.
We were talking before we started doing this about Apple Music, and I put together the playlist as you've mentioned many times. Are they on Apple Music?
Yeah. I'm looking at it right here because I've been listening to it on there. I would search Shadow Connected. Hyperviolets might not come up as easily because there's a lot of Shadow.
Oh, I see it now.
Yep.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bands.
Yeah,
with that, like there's a space between the name or songs. Yeah, it was harder to find if you searched Hyperviolet. So search Shadow Connected.
Okay. Well, do we want to put Who Let the Dogs Out? I mean, technically, Paul.
We could save it.
Made a noise.
That's Paul's edition. Okay,
that's
that
what I'm
is
saying.
A good point.
Like
RJ, great point by you.
As we discussed last week with Elizabeth.
He was a guest on the show.
If you are a guest on the show,
I think our first full-time dog guest.
I mean, Bear's been on a lot.
He's talked, but has he been on camera? Probably at some point.
Probably, I would.
But he didn't pick a song though, and Paul did. So therefore, Paul is better.
How about Paul's song represents Paul, and who's also been on camera now that if we're like sorting things, been on camera in your home in the past. Bear's been on camera, Honey's been on camera. So this inclusion is for all dogs, basically.
Wow.
Cool. Well, that's cool. Anything else before we want to leave, or we have to leave, or we do leave?
I don't know. Do you have a question that like you end the podcast with? Usually you do that. That's a thing. You're like, before we go, tell us what you fill in the blank here.
Okay.
You watch anything good recently? You purchase anything?
I started season 5 of Only Murders in the Building. I told you I started that show, and I'm 2 episodes in. I've seen the first 2 episodes, and they dropped 3. And if I can be like old and gripe, I know there's a lot of like griping about streaming and how we're back to cable. This sucks. It was super cool when like a show would drop on Netflix and you had the whole season. It sucks that now it's like, oh, actually, we're just going to drop 1 a week, as if it were on normal cable. That's dumb. I don't think that's fair. And in this case, it's like, oh, we're going to drop 3 at first to like make it feel and pretend like we're still streaming, even though this show only lives here. And then we're going to do 1 a week. What the hell? That's not cool. I don't like that.
Little rant by you. Yeah, I want to check out The Paper. That's next to my list. The Office spinoff. My good friend Michael Levin, who's a big reason why I have the job at BGN. He let me write for Liberty Ballers back in the day. It was kind of my big break into the blogging world. He's a writer on that show, so be careful what you say about that show.
I have zero qualms with the people involved. I just have qualms with like, let things be things. I almost don't want to watch the show out of principle. But I've
heard good things about it.
If you give it a seal of approval, I might check it out. Yeah. I will say that based on the like ads that I've seen, which you're just like inundated with during Sunday Night Football, sure. It doesn't remind me of The Office as much as it reminds me of. I don't remember if you said you watched The Jury. No. Or Jury Duty on Amazon Prime. That was really funny.
The one where it was like the bit, right? It was like a prank, basically.
No. Yeah, Christopher, by the way, is correcting me on Newfoundland being in Connecticut, and I may have been wrong.
Isn't that in Canada?
It's okay. So the town, I knew I got this wrong. I felt like I got it wrong in my head. Thank you, Christopher, for calling me out. The town was actually Gander in Newfoundland. So that was again, the word Newfoundland was prominent in my mind. But so thank you very much to you all, our Canadian friends correcting me. So Gander, Newfoundland was
that didn't sound right to me when you were saying that. I'm like, this doesn't sound right.
I think there is a Newfoundland, Connecticut. Is there a Newfoundland, Connecticut?
Big shout out to our Connecticut audience.
No,
I'm
there
sure
isn't.
We have a ton of listeners there.
So my apologies for I've actually never been to the East Coast, as I've mentioned many times. So that's a Texas bias, I suppose. But
I mean,
but
our good friend.
The story is incredible, though. Of Come From Away. That part remains or still remains true.
I mean, Holden offered to pay for one way of a trip out to the East Coast for you, so that's a pretty good offer.
Holden's also never been on the mixtape, so. And think about it. Elizabeth has, Paul has, Holden's never been here.
He did mention that to me last week, and he had listened, and he was like, man, he was bummed out about it. So maybe one day in the future.
Probably not, though. Okay. As we leave, Brandon, what is your favorite smell this time of year? And it can't be pumpkin. It can't be pumpkin.
Why can't it be pumpkin?
Because I said.
That wasn't what I was going to say, but unfair. I think it's just the fall air, like the leaves, fall in, kind of just the general fall smell. The
best is when it's cold enough to where like you breathe in and it's just like a little crisp in the back of your throat. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I actually asked you before we started. We'll leave it this. Is it hoodie weather for you?
I'm wearing a hoodie right now, so I guess Obviously. The answer is yes. It's kind of like my favorite time of year is when you can either wear it and not be too hot or not and not be too cold. So
April 25th, the perfect date.
No, this time of year.
April 25th is the perfect date. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. All you need is a light jacket.
Yeah, but the thing with spring is like you're de-thawing from a frozen
Do you not know what I'm referencing?
What?
That's in Miss Congeniality when they ask. They ask Miss Rhode Island, the winner, future winner of the pageant. I think it's a pageant. Who they ask her, "What's your perfect date?" But they mean like going on a date, and she says, "Oh, I would have to say April 25th."
I think
because it's not too hot, it's not too cold.
It still could be pretty cold by end of April sometimes. Still.
Well, you say that. I mean, she was Miss Rhode Island, so I mean, she was up in your neck of the woods.
Well, that'd be even colder. It stays even colder up there. Like when I would visit my friends in Boston in like early May, it's still like cold.
Well, okay, then say the word cold and let's go.
Cold and let's go.